Welcome to the Golden Feather. Grab a pint, a plate, and pick your seats. Your hosts, Vertek and Chibi, are back from their latest adventure.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Golden Feather. Today is the 30th of September 2022, episode 141. We have Davlos with episode titled Strikingly Different. How are you today, Davlos, besides burning?
Hi. Yeah, everything's fine. That's basically how my work life has been for the last 2-3 weeks. But I'm still alive. I'm not dead yet.
Well, always good. And as always, the lovely and talented, hey there, Lex.
31 months. Can you believe?
I do believe.
31
I just set you up as the intro. Holy mackerel.
Damn.
Thank you so much, Lex.
To answer your question, I'm doing fabulous.
Yeah. And,
I
actually,
also feel the everything is fine.
It's funny, I
yes.
on the whim, I chose last second to put Lex as the intro voice for today, too.
Oh, that's funny. Yes, we have Bergend with us. I told you guys, this isn't the real Davlos. This is an imposter.
Yeah, I know.
We warned you, honestly.
It's a deep fake because everything is
true.
AI generated these days, and yeah.
It's a deep fake. I like it.
Yeah.
Love it.
I'm gonna start petting my pitchfork. I love it.
Fantastic.
While we, get the tease and the joke fixed, I wanted to mention real quick before we get into today's show, we are sponsored by Factor 75, and we plan to tonight go through and pick up our subscription through it, just to kind of walk you guys through it. If you don't know what it is, it's a lot like HelloFresh, except for they already have pre-made meals that they send to you, and you can choose through it. It's actually made more for one person, so if you're a solo, it's perfect for you. If you're the only one doing like your meal preps and stuff, they already make it, they send it out to you. You just heat it up in the microwave and eat it, and it saves you tons of time. In Vertek, in my case, both of us are so busy that we just don't really have time to make food, so we'd much rather just be able to pop it in the microwave real quick and then eat it. Especially Davlos can relate when you're a web developer in general. There's like a lot of coding and a lot of time and a lot of deadlines, so life can get
staring
hectic.
at a computer until suddenly you're like, I didn't eat dinner from 2-3 hours ago, so I should make something.
I cheat. I go to the doctor and I say, give me meal replacements, and I get them for cheap.
Oh,
because
nice.
it is socialized healthcare.
That works. That works. Great tag. Thank you. 7 months already.
Thank you.
Welcome in. But yeah, so if you guys are interested, we have our Factor thing here. Oh, there it is. You can use our code. The bot beat me to it. You can use our code and save $130 off of 6 boxes, and it's very, I guess, on your time. So if you only want one sub, like for a week, and try it out, you can cancel it at any moment. You don't have to be stuck for the whole 6 weeks or anything like that. Remembering I haven't eaten sounds like every real release day from last 5 years.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Also, when you get into hyper-focus mode when you're gaming, especially when you have ADHD, that's fun. Suddenly you blink and you're like, oh, it's been 12 hours and I haven't eaten anything. Especially when playing an MMO like Ashes, which brings me to, if we can update the name tag. I think you're working on that, though. Davlos.
Yes.
Who are you? Where are you from? And what are you doing in terms of Ashes?
Wow, who am I? I've been around since the Kickstarter days. Where I'm from the Legacy Guild right now.
Okay.
And I'm from Singapore, so it's like 7 a.m. on Saturday for me. So if I kind of look like I'm out of it, it's because, yes, I definitely am.
That's fair.
Yes.
We were just talking. You said you've been up since like 2 o'clock in the morning your time.
Yes. I've had stress-induced insomnia because of work in the last 2, 3, 4 weeks. I've lost count.
It just keeps adding.
Yeah, it just keeps adding. So
Just
what
week
I'm
plus
doing,
plus.
yeah. So what I'm doing right now, I am working QA. I guess I can call myself an acting QA lead for 2 projects. I cannot really name them yet. I cannot disclose them because of the whole, I have to be in the Discord servers to go and monitor what players are complaining about. So the most I can say is it's a browser-based MMO that has been around for a long time and an unannounced hyper-casual game.
Ooh.
And unlike most indies where we go around begging for money, no, I'm sorry, Series F funding. Instead of Series F funding, we have two projects where it's like we have live ops that makes the money to get everyone paid, and then we funnel that money into making something new.
Oh, that's really awesome.
It's Neopets, isn't it?
When it's
I know it's Neopets.
I wish if I had Neopets money, I would be having fuck you money. Yeah.
Is Neopets still going? No,
It is.
Is it actually still
really
alive? Oh man,
interesting.
It is.
Holy cow.
If I'm not wrong, they are toe dipping into NFT stuff, but that's a whole different can of worms.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think they
real
invented
quick,
Neopets before the internet became a thing.
Yeah.
It's just never died.
Honestly, I don't know. It's a way to collect all the pets. Real quick, Woodchip, almost 3 years. Thank you so very much for the resub. I appreciate it. And thank you guys for getting a hype train started. Thank you. We super appreciate that. We appreciate your support. We love you guys being here and just chatting though. So like no pressure. What about Tamagotchi?
None at all.
But getting back on topic, Davlos, if that ends up being like something you can share, definitely share it with us. We'd love to share it with the community and anybody who might be interested in something to just try or play around with before Ash's Alpha 2 or launch comes out. Since we have no idea when that's happening.
I cannot share what I'm working on right now, but what I did work on in the past, one of them is Skull and Bones, which recently got delayed again. There's been a bit of gossip. I cannot talk about it, but it's a bit spicy.
Ooh, spicy.
Yeah. My previous project was War of the Visions Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. It's like a mobile like Final Fantasy Tactics but gacha. Yeah.
Nice.
We love
cool.
money.
Gacha tactics. I hear it.
Gacha tactics. Shot farming, gear grinding. Yep.
You know what would probably ironically make a lot of money is if somebody made a web-based gacha game that it was called just Gacha Tactics and that was it. And it had the goofiest tropes from every single gacha type game out there.
That's funny.
You'd probably make a lot of money just for the memes.
You joke, but someone probably is already making it, but it's not browser-based. It's I think it's on Switch. It's gonna be on Switch. I forgot the name for the life of me, but the art style is the same. The gameplay loop's the same. Everything's the same.
What I really want to see in that game is a $10,000 monthly package that gets a 5% increase in power or something.
Oh my gosh.
Oh god.
Just to get the absolute most whale out of it.
The whales, yeah.
Uh-huh.
You joke, but at one point, right, we had this brainstorming session of how do we integrate NFTs into gacha games? Okay, it's to gamers, right? There's the confluence of two of the most radioactive things you can ever think of and put them together, right? And you are close to the mark. A $10,000 NFT waifu that only one player can ever get, and the moment you meet that character in PvP, you're done.
Jeez.
That's how it'll be worth 10K. But I don't know whether it's gonna really happen, but it has been raised before. You joke, but someone has really thought of it. And they're probably thinking really, really seriously about how am I gonna implement this and get away with it.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
So we have a lot to unpack today, and Wizzy just asked the greatest question ever. Wow, Karthos.
I mean, fair point.
Wow.
Yeah, it's cheaper than a wedding here in Singapore. I can tell you that.
I guess it depends on where you're mail ordering from.
No, it's not mail ordering. It's just a ceremony, the dinner and the face saving and the ass kissing and the back slip. But I digress.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Oh, yeah. You gotta invite all the family members so nobody gets all bent out of shape.
Yes,
Oh my
and
gosh.
you have to like show off. Oh, look at how much money my kids have that they could like get into debt for like 10 years for one night.
Yes. The
My kids
accumulation, the real end
I
game.
imagine something of the opposite, like my kid's in debt for the rest of his life. How much in debt is your kid?
Not enough.
Not enough.
Please don't give my parents ideas. Please don't.
Okay. On that note, we have this lovely video up above us from the live stream today, and Wizzy was asking, what did they miss? Well, we were shown the we were shown the Empyrean elves with the ranger abilities and also the tab target and reticle or action combat systems. So let's just go first into talking about in general. What was your opinion of the live stream?
Okay, so I think we have had this tab versus Twitch aim debate for years, literal years. It has been talked to death for years. You could not beat a horse ditter than this. I would say that given the technical constraints that we have seen in previous testing, if I still remember the details of our NDAs correctly, where we had desyncs galore, we had lag with just like 70 players in the same grid. This was expected. This outcome was expected. There was a bit more focus on tab targeting than what most people were expecting, I guess. And I think this is a matter of expectations management that didn't go down very well. And I think more needs to be done on that. Do you want me to explain or pause and potentially put your audience to sleep?
Maybe like a very brief explanation, if you can.
Very brief explanation. So if you look at like the really popular examples of action combat in MMOs, right? The most recent one, New World, Black Desert, right? These two stand out. Okay. The number of concurrent players you can see on the same screen is limited because of just how much stuff is going on in the background. Due to this amorphous thing that gamers like to call the netcode. Right? The more stuff that's happening per second, the more stuff that needs to be sent to the server, and the server needs to hash it out and throw it out to the other players again. And if there's too much, there's lag, there's desyncs. And when this happens, it's not a great time for everyone. So this latest demonstration of more focus on tab targeting looks to me like them working within their technical constraints of saying, okay, our tick rate, our server tick rate, the frequency of servers being updated between the place and the server back and forth, we have to keep it low, or everyone's gonna lag to death. They will bitch about it, and they won't play our game anymore. Right? And this is the outcome. We have a low impact, low network cost form of combat that is probably going to serve the 100 versus 100 player engagements that has been advertised for quite some time. So to me, from like the development point of view, this makes sense. I'm quite happy with it. But I think the messaging on this and explaining the reasons why to players, that's on Intrepid. It's not on me. I'm just a dude to put in like some money into this thing.
Just a guy. Just a guy.
I'm just a dude. I'm just a dude who probably got interested in development ever since I got into PI.
Yeah. Honestly, they've made it really interesting because they've been very forthcoming with a lot of stuff, especially for my understanding, PI until people start leaking stuff, and that's where things get complicated. But also they have like that, if you will, I don't know, maybe kind of like a double-edged sword with being very, this is everything we're working on, but also how would people experience that? I mean, if you look at APOC, I think, as a good example, this is them trying to show like, this is the systems we're trying to use, etc. And even though they've made it clear as much as they possibly could, people still misunderstood the product for what it was. And so that's the double-edged sword with, like, I think this level of just showing what's going on behind the scenes. And I think they learned that. And I think that's where, because I remember there being issues with people leaking stuff that like we weren't supposed to know. So, unfortunately, that stuff will happen. It's a part of life. So. Yep.
So the fun thing about APOC, which you brought up, right, was Intrepid also kind of failed a little bit on expectations management, where the monetization was steep enough to rival Fortnite, and Fortnite is a shipped product. APOC was not. So when that level of monetization in APOC was that high, it gave players the expectation and impression that, oh, this is supposed to be a shipped product. Yeah. So that was probably also a contributing source to why APOC kind of crashed and burned. But as a testing tool, if not for that level of monetization and promotion of that monetization, you can get skins when the game actually releases. It did work as a testing tool. It tried to make people keep going to the same zone, not to like get distributed all over the map and do their own thing. But the way you want to do performance testing of a server is that the more players are in the same distance as possible, that's the more stress you can do to generate on the server and make sure that it doesn't break. So APOC worked that way.
Which is why when Steven accidentally grabbed like 5,000 bears to test like the stability. Whoops,
that wasn't real. That wasn't real. You can use hitless clients, which is a whole different thing, which I'm not going to bore your audience about. You can use, those different kind of things. It still would not simulate real world results. That's the reason why this service called VMC exists, which is operated by Keyword Studios. So Keyword Studios is like a outsourcing QA company that pays normie gamers like $5 an hour to get a glimpse into AAA alpha games and stress testings. So that's how public-facing alpha tests like in Call of Duty does not crash and burn when it opens up, because there have been 600 nerds who have already been paid to do this.
Yeah.
So that's how things go really smoothly. It doesn't work that way for indies who cannot afford to pay like 20 grand per session.
Yeah. We took part in some game testing when we were out in California. There's somebody that picked us up for a few of them. I got involved in like Spider-Man, the PS4 Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That was a whole lot of fun. Just seeing everything behind the scenes that I'm not supposed to talk about. But yeah, it was a blast.
It's like,
not something to get rich off of, but it was a fun experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting glimpse into how you get to see things being organized. Like, okay, you're gonna have this control session of 30 minutes. You're supposed to go here and do this thing. If the debug menu keeps throwing red lines, please call for us.
Yeah.
Don't pay attention to this thing happening over there. It's totally intentional at this point. We don't have that done. Just pretend it's working and ignore it.
Yep. Yeah. If this thing is hitting this thing and it's flying in the sky, we're still kind of working on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can say it was fun with one of the games. There was basically like stick figures walking around disjointedly, and like Like the Microsoft text to voice going off,
Yeah.
reading all the voice lines.
Yep. That's how it is in the AAA side of things. That's how they do things.
So I think we should get into topic 1, which is Ranger class skills. The first thing I have here is a post from Reddit talking about the arrow range arc. It's from u/ordinary pie. And they say, first off, I'd like to say this was a fantastic update from Intrepid. Don't know how you keep doing it. Though, with the topic like combat, you're inevitably going to disappoint people no matter what you do. So I'd expect to get some upset people in the sub for a couple of days. Unless it's understandable, but if Intrepid had gone more action combat, I would have been one of them, essentially. Anyway, I'm happy Intrepid has picked a direction. All they can do now is make the best version of their combat that they can. My question is, did Steven make it clear what the range for the arrows was when free firing, and do they arc through the sky? I wasn't really able to pay attention to that. I was just more so documenting mentally the abilities and how they would work with each other. Is that anything either of you picked up or anybody from the chat?
Not necessarily. It was tough to pick out a bunch of that stuff as far as like super details on it, really.
Yep. So I do not think I saw an arc animation. I think the range is a bit too short for an arc to even happen. That's one. There's the second point about the range. So when you go to like the free aim, free firing mode, the tooltip for the crosshair would like kind of gray out if it's out of range, and then it would light up when you're in range. So I guess that kind of establishes the limited range question. But
Oh, okay. See, I thought it was going red when it was like actually on a target, versus gray when it didn't register a target. But that's a potential thing too. I also liked the soft lock versus the hard lock onto it, where like you can right click. But as far as the arc, I didn't really notice one. But yeah, what were you giggling at there?
So yeah, go ahead.
I forget, but the one thing I did want to mention is that I was trying to listen for actual like ranges and whatnot, because I think he was asked a question about that specifically and never really said an answer. It was just kind of general, like, yeah, you lose, some damage is going to change and some range is going to change and etc. But there wasn't really like a finite. What we're thinking is this much range.
Yeah.
That's probably a prudent thing, because design documents change all the time. And if you say that it's going to be 5% more, they're good. Chat is going to commit you to it until the day you die. So so that's the reason why he said, oh, there's going to be some.
It's going to be a change somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm noticing that the featured comment is not working on stream.
It's not popping up? All right, let me look into that real quick.
Okay.
Feature comment?
Yeah, so we have a new thing called featured chat, and we can add people's comments where I can make it pop up, so that way if we're addressing it particularly, everybody's able to see what we're talking about. Especially when sometimes the chat goes really fast and I have to like madly click to get a bunch of them. But I am gonna add a couple of things. Yeah, he did say something was about being out of range, which Chip was saying he forgot to ask how many feathers were on the shaft.
Oh god. This is gonna be the how many polygons does this vase have in Final Fantasy XIV? Is that gonna be the kind of question?
Right. Sir Unsington says, I think a bunch of action players would like to see long-range snipes. Probably not going to happen. I don't know, because I feel like he used that one ability where you stand still for a bit of time. I think he used that a little too close range for like what I think that ability is best used for. But I guess it would also depend on your type of bow, because again, they were talking about the differences between a short bow versus, I think, a long bow or regular bow. And so I thought it was really interesting, and that kind of brings me over to the next kind of topic with it, is like the difference between the styles of combat. And a lot of people were asking, hey, are you able to swap quickly between the two types of bows? And he said, yeah, but you can't necessarily swap your entire armor really quickly for like that. So that to me kind of tells me you can build completely for one way or the other. But if you're okay with taking a little bit of a hit to a specific build, you can swap really quickly. So if you're built for long range, but somebody gets in your short range and you just swap to that short bow real quick and you dodge around a little bit more, then that's something that could be viable, but it won't be, I guess, as finely tuned or min-maxed as somebody who is built around the short bow. Another thing I noticed is when I used to play Hunter in World of Warcraft, I could jump and they would cancel firing. Yeah, you don't want to rely on that in this game, apparently, because he was jumping and firing at the same time. And I would have just pulled all of the mobs. I was just thinking that while I was watching that.
that was like the classic, Hunter starter play of, oh God, I've pulled this, I've pulled that. I'm running away, I'm kiting. Oh no, I pulled
Oops,
more.
my pet.
No.
Yeah.
So funnily enough, I did play Hunter main in WoW as well. There was like that minimum range dead zone thingy in WoW, which was around for a long time until about like 2 expects ago when they completely removed that, which I had mixed feelings about. But for Ashes now, for the demonstration that we saw, I think it looked promising. There was a lot of trade-offs, like you had to commit yourself to the rapid fire ability, which applied like a damage debuff until the third shot, which made sure that the player had to commit to pulling off the entire thing. There was that snap ability that made the player charge up before firing. So it's a lot of sacrificing mobility for extra DPS, which is, I think that's a solid set of design decisions.
Yeah, I could agree with that. That kind of actually brings me to the next question. I want your opinion on the aiming. /Ventus Aurelius says, asking for thoughts on bow and aiming. I'm not going to really go too much. It's kind of, I think, a slight complaint. I don't know. But the TLDR of it that they give is, please let us actually aim and shoot with more precision at any given range. Kind of, I would imagine something similar to Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yes.
As it doesn't seem that was as viable as other games. So what are your thoughts on it?
This kind of reminds me of Terra.
Okay.
Where Terra had action combat, but actually it was like a soft lock of sorts. Does that make sense?
I can understand a little bit of that.
Where if you hover the crosshair over something, it kind of functions as a tap target. So it doesn't really aim for a hitbox, it just aims for something in general. So I think that was the main complaint behind this thread. And once again, this plays into the whole, reducing the technical cost of having gameplay,
Yeah.
It's a clicker, so reactions.
Nice.
You know what?
I saw that and I died just a little bit. It was funny.
I feel that because I'm in my 30s now. I cannot get into the zone of MMOs anymore. I play 2 hours, I get tired, I have to stand up and do something. Otherwise, I get old people problems in my 30s.
Yeah.
So I kind of get it, like, oh God, I'm starting to click now. What's wrong with me? I'm a scrub.
Okay.
Yeah, old people problems.
Yeah, I don't know. I think in the previous alphas and such, I just know they were the even the range was pretty deadly in like APOC. If you could use it.
Especially with the wand, too.
If you couldn't use it. I couldn't tell you how many times I got sniped in the head by somebody with a stupid bow and arrow from across the map.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think
And I couldn't shoot the thing to save my life.
Yeah, there was even like balance issues in Castle Siege where range was dominating so hard that there was no point in being melee at all.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it was really broken in APOC too, the bow was. So it's nice to actually see it return finally after so long. I was wondering how that was going, but I don't know. Spiegel says, I'm 53 and I don't click. I mean, everybody has their own play style. It's more of a tease, if anything.
Yeah.
Especially with Steven even trolled himself a little bit on stream today saying, if my health is at 1, you're supposed to be dead. I just don't think it'd be as fun if I'm dead for this. So every time I hit 1 HP, feel free to take a water shot. So he knows.
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of common where the guy who runs the project is bad at the game. This is a thing.
Yeah.
If you follow Star Citizen at all, Chris Roberts sucks at his own game. He crashes all the time.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So this is a thing. Don't be surprised about it.
Overthrow says...
yeah, Wizzy, that... Sorry, go ahead.
Overthrow says, I feel like Steven may need to let other people from the studio steer the video.
Possibly.
Is it... I was going to ask the flippy one. Is it where he's literally like flipping over them as the boom, boom, boom? Because if so, that's the next topic I was going to bring. Yeah.
Yes, that was the airstrike. Yeah.
So yes, actually, that's perfect. Here's a specific actual clip somebody made of the airstrike ability. What were your thoughts on the airstrike ability before I say mine?
The airstrike ability sounds like someone created an ability, couldn't think of a name about it, and someone probably talked about it off the cuff and said, "Oh, that's the airstrike," and then the name stuck. I'm willing to bet money that this happened because
like
it does happen. Yeah, like Tank, in one of my past projects where there was this unnamed ability where the player vehicle would lose all speed, velocity goes to 0, rate of fire goes to bazillion, ammo unlimited, and for the lack of a term to call it, I called it siege mode in a bug ticket, and it stuck, and it ended up in the freaking E3 trailer.
Nice. There you go. Sorry, I was tracking that video back. I got it there for you, Wizzy. We'll do a couple replays for you.
Yeah. So airstrike is a thing. So airstrike is an interesting like evasion / CC ability. And most players do not look up. So this is probably also a very useful thing to have. The not so useful thing to have is that if the player activates airstrike, they have no agency for 2 seconds and they can just die while doing it. Yeah. That's the risk.
Yeah.
But, Davlos, sorry, I got distracted looking that up to rewind it for Wizzy. What did you say about something making it into a trailer or something?
There was an ability. Yeah, there was an ability that made the player vehicle go to 0% velocity. Rate of fire was like 500%, unlimited ammo, and the ability had no name. So for the lack of a term, I called it siege mode in the bug ticket. And somehow, 2 months later, the name siege mode stuck. And it made it into the E3 demo, it made it into the trailer, and the narrator called it that.
That's awesome.
So something like this being called airstrike, even though it doesn't really fit into like high fantasy tropes, this probably happened.
Wood Chip wants to call it Maverick.
Maverick?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Maverick does work. High risk, high reward. Yeah.
Actually, that's what I was going to get to, but I wanted Vertex thoughts on the airstrike before I speak up again.
I think it's really cool skill, to be honest. I mean, it does have its drawback, but it does have a whole lot of potential for just a lot of stuff, to be honest. Like, especially if there's a dash backwards, that would absolutely 1000% give the ranger a chance to jump over in front of somebody through the air, slowing them down the whole way. They'll land in front of someone, turn around, snipe them with a snare, do a dash backwards, and just keep attacking while they're trying to run either towards the ranger or away from them towards whoever else is chasing, one or the other. So it's a cool little strategic thing, or, you know, just getting out of a tight pinch.
Yeah. Gruntag says risk versus reward sounds fair. I like that move as well. Yeah, so for me, the thing I was going to mention is because you said you have no player agency for like 2 seconds or a second or so. But I think because of, if it really is OP, then it balances out. You're doing a lot of damage, but you're not able to play for a second. So that risk of not being able to do anything for like a second or two with the reward of being able to do a lot of damage, I think it's fair. Absolutely, I agree with that, Gruntag. But I wanted to address this, Wizzy. The fog, it's a weather effect. It's not it's not a normal thing. This is specifically early morning fog, which is what they were explaining. So definitely go give that video a watch. I can totally link it again. I grabbed the video, specifically the video link. But yeah, kind of going into the next topic, which is talking about combat. How do you feel, because I don't know, Vertec, if you spoke too much about the aiming of the bow in general and the abilities there that are being shown, like how easily it looks to aim and attack somebody?
It's tab. It's easy.
Well, but even with the reticle, that one technically is tab too.
I see that because there's no actual benefit to doing it outside of just it feels cool. I mean, there's the one singular thing that was mentioned that is accurate, but I don't see somebody switching into that unless they're a power player, just for that one issue where there's a bunch of targets behind or in front of you, and before you get to the thing you're trying to hit, and you want to try to like lead with the arrow to make it projectile based to hit them when they run past everything. That is the one singular time I can see that working, and I don't see anybody using it more than maybe 5-10% of the time, and that's if they're like a power gamer. So, I mean, outside of that, it's all tab. You select something, and then your arrow's going to hit it unless something else steps in the way. The end. I actually think it's kind of silly. It doesn't really reward the action combat outside of just feeling a certain way, which I guess has its own rewards for those who really just want that feeling.
Yeah.
But when you're combining two different control styles, I think it's kind of rough to make the more difficult to hit one be zero reward for doing it that way.
Yeah.
It's just another thing, because then the people who really do enjoy that style of play probably won't use it because it's going to be less advantageous to them to do so, because they're going to miss more often just out of the fact that it's the game aiming for you or you aiming for you, and the game is going to know what it wants to hit, and it's going to make it hit at the end.
Yeah. Actually, that's a great question, because Saucy Sun says that Steven said the basic attack is projectile based, and someone noticed in the video around 13 minutes and 54 of the YouTube video, an arrow hitting a tree and stopping, the target was locked. I don't think it's something usual in an MMO like RPG.
A basic attack that is projectile based. That is interesting.
And also, he said, if anybody missed it, you can have your main hand, your offhand, and a ranged weapon all equipped. Yeah. But you can also choose for your basic attack which one is going to be your basic attack, your main hand or your ranged. I thought that was really, really neat.
Yeah. So like what Overthrow kind of mentioned was, if the basic attack really is a projectile, then tanks would have a use.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to have everyone saying, okay, everyone assist my target, and then you have like 50 rangers focusing down one healer, the healer's dead, and next. That would be useful unless they are on the high ground and it's over Anakin. Cough. Anyway,
I have the
high ground.
Yeah, I have the high ground. So if basic attacks really are projectiles, then having terrain under considerations would make things matter.
I'm also because Overthrow just put something out there saying, so I think as a tank you can intercept projectiles regardless of whatever camera the enemy ranger is using. Now, think of like a capture the flag type scenario with player collision, as well as being able to intercept ranged projectiles flying in. Just get a double ring of tanks surrounding the flag bearer and just go.
Yeah.
Just go.
Why not?
The end. You grab the flag because you're a mage rogue and you can blink and hide and go stealth and sneak away if shit hits the fan. But it's not going to, because we got one ring of tanks here and we got another ring of tanks inside of them jumping to catch arrows from above.
Yeah. Aw, Ozzy, no, you're good. Hi, Tia, welcome in. Witchip says Ranger and Rogue secondary, no flip, just blink is my wish. Is how the secondary will augment that ability. But that's also the other important thing is like, how are the secondary augments going to affect some of these skills? I'm interested in seeing how that ends up coming out. Vertex already metagaming.
Yeah, I have no idea. I have not seen any like game design documents, so I really cannot say for sure how secondaries are going to affect this. I don't even think we are there yet. It's just that the core functionality of the game, it seems, which is publicly viewable right now, is not even there yet. So I think that is probably jumping a bit too far ahead.
Yeah. I know. It's just a little bit of like, this is exciting, but I also can't wait to see what this other thing would be like. Let's see. I have to say, I really did enjoy. Is there one of these that either of you are interested in going with first? But I have to say, I like seeing the options. I kind of thought the reticle with the tab option as well was interesting, and it's something that's a little bit more in the I might want to actually try that instead of I want nothing to do with that realm, for me at least.
I can see a use case for both tap target and this soft lock kind of feature that are balanced out. Let's say this is going to be pure speculation. I have no idea what the numbers are. Let's say for the sake of argument, the free aim mode is going to give me a 5% DPS, 5% crit rate, and 5% rate of fire. Okay, versus compared to tap target, and I'm dueling another ranger who's tap targeting. So naturally, I would be having the advantage there. So I can see a use case where if there's a straggler, if there are like two blobs of players duking it out and someone's out of position, some ranger could like switch to the free aim mode and just pick them off real quick, then go back to tap target, which is a bit more focused, because if you have been in large scale PvP scenarios before, what players like to think of themselves as like individual skill and having this power fantasy doesn't really matter anymore, when all that matters is discipline. Listening to the however we call it, group commander, the shot caller, and say, this person, kill that now. Okay, next, kill this person now. No, wait, that person's being healed. No, kill this person now. So those who have been on like the top end of PvP would understand this and get this, where they would probably prefer tap targeting more, and then having the free aim functionality for other scenarios, like let's say roaming, small group PvP, that would work better. So I think it's not a case of, oh, I'm never gonna use this mode. It's if they do this right, it's gonna have a function for different scenarios, and I think that's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I was thinking also with the action versus tab stuff is like even Overthrow, I think it was. Yeah, Overthrow said it. We put that up on the screen here. That seems like you could turn arrows through an open gate by just pew pew pew, or like trying to raid into a castle. Just kind of shoot through the window like crazy. Cover fire.
Yeah,
take half damage.
That is valid too. Yeah, take half damage. That is valid too.
I think there'll be a lot of interesting stuff. Now, this is somebody's opinion. They think that the full tab target range combat is disappointing. I'm putting this here just because this is where I'm grabbing the conversation from. So the way I like to see it, if a subject doesn't have very many votes, it's probably not very highly regarded by the community. But I still thought it was interesting to bring up. A lot of people are I think you kind of nailed it on the head earlier, is that we hear things and we get this envisionment of what we think it should look like. And one of our viewers, I apologize, earlier had said they did their best to explain it multiple times, to try to explain how they imagine it to be, to try to describe it as much as they could. But Ordinary Pie commented on this person, and they said, people like you are why these showcases are so important. It's better to disappoint now with the reality of the game rather than when the game officially releases. Games like Cyberpunk kind of come to mind with that, and they're sorry that, OP is disappointed, but, they're going to disappoint some people, and it's kind of inevitable, but I don't know. I feel like for me, it's 50-50. There's the initial viewing of what this feels like, and then I need to know what it physically feels like for me to have a full opinion on this. So, like, it may not look that great, but this is coming from somebody who's never really paid attention to that stuff before. So it looks cool, but I might absolutely hate it when I go to do it for, like, IRL. Which is the whole other way of it going, or like it could look horrible, but then when you're actually playing it, you're like, oh, this is easier to use than it looked.
You'll never know until you get into it, really.
Exactly.
You can have a decent idea, but if you haven't specifically jumped into that situation, you won't really know.
Yeah.
That's why, I'm trying to stay open to everything. I do know I was hoping for a little bit more action combat-y stuff, but also have to realize, and what a lot of people have to realize, honestly, is that they've only done a very basic overview of the combat system so far. Like the most basic of basic. So there's still an entire range, probably 95% of combat has not been shown. Maybe a good portion of that hasn't been designed and implemented to its full state yet even. So... right now we're just kind of getting a taste of it, which is why, I'm 100% open mind. I like what they showed. I'm just a little sad there wasn't more action or more incentive to use action combat as an actual decision point versus here's a niche case where it will work.
Yeah.
I really don't know. Once again, pure speculation. It's probably due to that recent Unreal Engine 5 migration that might be causing issues in implementing stuff and limiting the amount of stuff that can be shown off. The reason is that if you have worked on any major projects where you're going to say, we were on Unity 2017 engine for this long and we are going to 2019, it's a world of pain. I guarantee you it's a world of pain. That part of my pain at work was basically that. Migrating engines, upgrading engines. People like to think that, I just press a button and it overwrites stuff like it's a GPU driver, and I wish it worked that way. I freaking wish it worked that way, man. Like even the amount of work that it took for NVIDIA to make sure that just simply double-clicking an executable and making drivers overwrite just like that took a lot more work than just double-clicking something like that. So,
yeah, Roach, I agree. Roach says the engine makers will sell it that way, but it never really is like that.
Yes, I saw that. I saw in the Unreal forums like, oh yeah, if you just migrate it to 4.2.5 and everything will be fine if you go to UE5, and that's not really
not so much
thing like that,
Yeah. Yes, Woodchip, I agree. Oh, okay, horrendous. Have a good night. Thank you. Oh, by the way, guys, we have a new lurk command. So if you want to do ! lurk, it's kind of adorable.
Woodchip, and at the same time, because I qualify everything because this industry is really small and people talk. And if I get this reputation of like just talking shit about everyone, I will never get hired again.
Yeah. Right. I can see that.
So when Intrepid announced that they were migrating to UE5, that didn't sound good to me. Like everyone's like, yes, everything's gonna look really nice, but it looks nice and all, but when the game itself is broken as hell, you're gonna wait for another 2 years. Are you willing to do that?
Yeah.
Are you okay with that?
It's a pro and con thing. Like, sure, you have to swap over to UE5 and then also figure out like the server situation. But then on top of that, while the engineers are figuring out the server problem, you're able to have a lot more designers and character people in the front end with the UE stuff, getting that working at a faster pace because it's not one person on a node at a time anymore. And so I could see the payoff. It's a lot of pros and cons weighing.
Yeah. So about the whole thing about like I want to see more combat. I want to.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sir Onsington says your background is the UE5 port. Everything is fine.
Yes. Yeah, like that early morning environment thing with the fog and the god rays and the luscious bushes swaying in the wind and everything looks great. But then who knows? Who knows what else they're hiding, because it happens. When you're trying to show things to the public, you're gonna hide 80% of the shit because they're all gray box and stuff. I cannot pronounce the name. Eroch?
Yeah, Eroch. Yeah, close.
Eroch. Do you think it'll make the core software stronger by going through migration? Once again, I don't know. I have not worked with these people before. I don't know what their workflow is like. But the universal truth is that every time you migrate engines, you're entering a world of pain.
And it makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that gets broken because just different ways of coding it, or they move it around, or they're, instead of using the term author, we changed it to authors.
Yeah, those are called breaking changes usually.
Why did you just add a letter? Why even do that? Just keep it the same.
Back is, I don't know if there is a command for back, but welcome back.
Or like, I'm gonna comment everything because I don't like how this looks like. No.
Yeah.
No.
So the next question on it is, why require a target on certain abilities? In today's live stream, we got to see some ranged combat abilities, 3 of them. The snipe, quick shot, and airstrike. The question was asked in the live stream, does snipe require a target? And the answer from Steven was yes, some abilities will require a target and some don't. They're going on to say like they don't understand why this is limited. It's like an artificial barrier, etc. But what are your thoughts on requiring a target on certain abilities?
I have no idea. It's probably something to do with the game logic itself. I do not work on Unreal. I only fool around with it. The only extent I've done with Unreal Engine 5 was to go, okay, let's see how I can break it. And I put like 10,000 pieces of shrubbery and still the editor didn't break. So I was like, wow, okay, but that's the most I've done with it. If you do in UE4 with 10,000 pieces of shrubbery, you will break it. You will crash. But I digress. I really don't know. I cannot give you an answer to that one.
Well, I'm just saying, like, what do you think in general about having some abilities requiring a target in order to use them as a general thing?
This has happened before. Oh, we have this legacy ability from like Alpha 0. Let's use this one. It works.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think some things really should require a specific target. Like, it's only going to hit one thing. But I don't know. I'm going to file this also in the. I think it's odd how they're doing some of the implementation to make it viable, like quote unquote viable to play as tab or as action combat is what the original statements were. Is you could play either way. They're both viable, and you'll be able to do everything you want to do. And you'll be able to go in your skill trees and spec into one or the other, or more into one or the other, or what have you. But with this, it's even if you're in action, you need to have a target selected.
Correct.
And then there's other skills that even if you're trying to do fully tab target, it's going to be an action-based skill, like the airstrike. Whatever direction you're facing is the direction you're going to jump.
Yeah.
So it's kind of messing up people in both directions. Instead of just sticking to this is the control scheme and these are the skills that behave this way, these are these skills that behave that way, and that's it. And making it truly just a hybrid and it's set in stone, or unlocking on both sides. Like if there's a tab, if there's someone tabbing and they use airstrike, they jump towards that thing no matter if it's behind them or whatever. That's the direction it jumps.
Yeah, that aligns with what Iraj said about forcing people to play with both of them, which kind of makes sense if I was trying to accommodate two different styles, and I want to say I'm a game designer. As a game designer, I'm going to want to build two different styles of combat, and I don't want everyone to only use one. That's a user story, by the way, if you wanted to learn like HL. So if I'm going to force players to use both, and I'm going to reward players for being versatile in knowing how to use both, then that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah,
but, I can see that.
Kind of making it so you can switch between them, but still forcing things to work in a certain way. Just to me, it feels kind of awkward.
Yeah.
Some of the things that chat is saying are, I would assume a lot of the single target abilities required a hard target, and the AoE abilities would use ground targeting or originate from the user, from Smeagol. But I love your username. I've been trying not to do like the whole my precious thing. Then Raj says it could be to force people to play with both tab and action. Saucy Sun. I'm sorry, I always think of it like that. I don't see either what technical reason would explain why a basic attack would be possible without a target but not a snipe skill. And Overthrow says, I think it shows they aren't prioritizing vertical aiming. But then Fezzik, by the way, welcome in, Fezzik. I think it's more of a design philosophy. The game at its core is tab enhanced, with them prototyping hybrid combat.
Probably.
If Woodchip says you can't use Davlos, you can't use both since you're over 30.
I know. Sad. It makes me sad.
Roj also says it prevents one from being the meta if action was always better than why make tab kind of thing.
Yeah. Like what I said earlier about as a game designer, I want to make players use both instead of just using one. Yeah.
Ashley says they have stated that 25% will be all tab and 25% action, roughly. So in order to fulfill that promise, it might simply be that. But I also wanted to pull up the first response was somebody saying the reason that they can think of is balancing. So imagine having 10 rangers on a cliff with snipe primed up and just instantly deleting the first person in range. At least with tab requirement, it could give that person time to realize and get out of range or use a defensive or other option. So Guild Wars 2 has abilities that don't quite work right when not targeting something. Like I remember the Ranger Greatsword charge, you had to weapon swap before the leap, or you could get you would get glitched in the air for a little bit. Somebody responded and said, recording to the snipe primed in instantly deleting the first person in range. This gives me New World PTSD with the muskets.
I too have played Hold Fast.
I could definitely see that.
You know what? I think Overthrow might have it there. Melee is pretty actiony from what we've seen so far, so maybe that is most of the percentage for action combat.
Potentially,
Melee.
yeah, absolutely. I could see that. Aroj says, I'm still not clear with how hitboxes are working. The different races are very different in size. Why wouldn't everyone want to be dwarves? I was hoping for some clarification today. Absolutely, Roj. Honestly, I think if you wouldn't mind just, probably putting that in the forums that they host for Q&A or stuff like that. I'm sure somebody would love to answer that. Or even the official Discord, they have a Q&A section there too. And a lot of the community members tries to answer that.
There was a very, very old answer. This answer was years ago. This was raised before on what is keeping me from being a gnome, like an army of ankle biters murdering to death while the smaller hitbox is, is going to let me dodge everything. And the answer was the size was supposed to be normalized with your HP pool, I think. So if you're really small, your HP pool is going to be really small. If you're big, your HP pool is going to be big. That's kind of what the answer was like a long, long time ago. I think this is just way back in my Alpha 0 days. I don't know if it still applies today. Yeah.
Yeah, see, it kind of depends on what they mean by normalized, because the term's been thrown around a lot. I mean, even just today, it's come up a bunch that I've seen, even in this chat, to be honest. But the normalizing and how they're going to do it is going to be the tricky part. Like, are they going to normalize based on, like you were saying, like hit points? So the smaller the hitbox, the less hit points you have? Or are they going to try and do something of like a height averaging, which is going to be really weird for dwarf versus the Renkai? Because it's like, what, 3 or 4 of the island dwarves stacked on top of each other? Like,
why not?
They have to split it in half. Like the Renkai's hitbox is going to end at their belly button, so they can peek over rocks all day long and not get sniped. It's fine. But dwarves, I mean, they go to have their head pop up above a little bit of a bush, and someone's going to be able to snipe them with a throw a paper plate, and they'll hit them for sure. But,
a tall dwarf compared to a short dwarf.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. There was a definite answer years ago. Whether it still applies today, I have no idea.
That's fair.
I mean, I kind of like the idea of normalizing, less hit points depending on the size of your hitbox, but we're not normalizing, but I guess scaling based on your hit points rather than normalizing. Scaling based on your hit points.
Yeah.
But the only tricky part is then people are going to want like strength and attack damage and whatnot to scale as well, because it's a bigger guy, and then you've just got 5 ankle biting dwarves running after a single Renkai, and that single Renkai just kind of like one big ol' axe chop and takes him right on out.
Yeah. Flossy Sun says normalized means everyone would have the same hitbox, essentially. I don't know. I figured this will be interesting. But that does bring up a good point. I was kind of wondering what it would be like, because we see the elf do it. What would it be like to see a dwarf do it compared to other races? Like, are they just like right about this height when they're jumping? Because they're smaller, right? So like this is pretty tall for a taller race for it to be jumping over people. Or are they gonna have crazy high, like even above the taller races?
Oh no, my ears have a hitbox. It's a headshot hitbox. I die.
What, 3 foot versus 3 foot? I think we have to have uniform hitboxes for balance. Yeah, possibly. I like the soft target mode we saw today neutralize the hitbox issue a bit. Yeah, I honestly, I'm interested in seeing like the technology behind it and choosing like how something hits and how something doesn't hit. But yeah, I think those are interesting. There's also ranged combat tab-based status effect. I think that's an interesting topic as well. Let me just share this out with you guys so that you can look at what we're talking about here. So this is posted by u/Serdike2. Range combat, tab-based status effect versus precision-based raw output. Have a ranged weapon, maybe even a spell tree, that accommodates for precision-based combat, more damage, longer cooldown time, but still available. I want range to not feel weightless, so please allow me the chance to pick a ranged heavy class, if you will. One ranged weapon has auto lock, tab-based combat, and fires one shot a second at 10 damage per shot. Skills and abilities, of course, affect the stats and damage type, elemental, poisoning, bleed, damage stacked, etc. Each status effect does 10 damage per tick, so now you do plus 30 damage a tick for X amount of ticks, but also each shot does 10 damage on top of that. Essentially, every 4 seconds, you do roughly 120 damage just for looking in their direction.
Wow.
Yeah, and they go on to like add more into that, like saying one ranged weapon is skill based and fires one shot every 4 seconds. It does 150 to 180, so 25 to 50% more base damage. What are your guys' thoughts?
If you're designing a class for a game like Overwatch, this would work.
Okay.
If you are talking about an MMO where Steven has frequently said that he wants 250 players on each side duking it out, the level of desync is going to make your projectiles desync to death. You will not be able to do anything if you're going to do this like projectile based critical whatever. You will be useless. That is probably the outcome.
And what one of the ways that and correct me somebody if I'm wrong, Wizzy, looking at you, Wizzy, but Wildstar, I think one of the ways they got around a lot of this hitbox issue was that even with straightforward shooting projectiles, they just shot forward, and it was like this giant stack of death. And all it really mattered was left to right aiming, and that was it. So all you had to worry about was your footprint. And all the player races could all have the same literal footprint, and then the up and down hitbox didn't matter at all. But I didn't play every single range attacking class, so maybe there was some that did actually matter, but I don't think any of them did. I think it was all just, if you're in this line like this, you're getting hit. If you're not, then you're fine. So step your feet out of the danger and you're good. So that's one direction they could have gone if they wanted to do something that made it easy to avoid the whole hitbox debacle and also still incorporate some decent 2D versus 3D. It was a 2D damage instead of 3D. Yeah, or 2D aiming versus 3D aiming.
I get it. I mean, wood chip. I don't think it's a matter of whether you're gonna have hitboxes or not. It's I think it's once again it's all about expectations management. It needs to be done better. It's not being done better. Gamers are a bit more intelligent than what marketing people take them for. Because if gamers were dumb, you wouldn't have people data mining the heck out of gacha games to find out what's coming in 2 weeks' time. I swear to God,
it's the developers that are dumb because they're still uploading it like a month before they go to release the content. They're like, here, take this download. Oh my gosh, why'd you look for the content? Because you said,
exactly.
You sent me a download, so I'm gonna look for the content.
Yeah, you send me the data. I'm gonna look at it, and you didn't encrypt it because there were measures taken to encrypt it, but then it's like a constant war of like, oh, I'm gonna encrypt it. No, the data miner is gonna decrypt it, and then monetization is gonna come in and say, why aren't we making any money this month? Oh, because the data miners found out that this really nice character is coming in 3 weeks' time, so they're not spending.
Well, I feel like it balances out anyway, because like if they go and tell, hey, everybody, this is the person to spend money on, like you get a higher amount of people spending money on that, because then you have the people like me who, when I was playing like gosh, what was that one called again? Genshin. When I was playing Genshin, it was, I really wanted the character, so like how much can I afford to throw at the game that I could take away from something else that would, if I, maybe possibly, that's why I quit.
I mean, scaling back from like the data mining side of things, I mean, gamers are a bit more intelligent than what marketing and communications people take them for. So what I really want is for Intrepid to write blogs again, dev blogs again, give people something to read, outline your design intentions, tell them why you're making combat this way again, and then maybe come up with simulations of, look, if we had 500 people doing this hitbox-based precision crit rate thingy, no one's gonna damage anyone. It's just muskets firing at each other. I wish this was done more, but it's not. I don't know why.
Must protect precious.
Yeah.
But yeah, wood chip. Wildstar did die pretty quickly, but I do believe in my personal uneducated position, and guess I would say that it depended more on players' expectations and their rose-tinted glasses of I miss games being difficult, and then they actually bumped into a difficult game, and it really just wrecked their everything, and they had to find every reason to tear it down because they couldn't succeed. Instead of just saying, hey, the game's too tough, dial it back a bit. And then also the studio kind of being dumb. Yeah. And also the studio just mismanaging like everything on it, including their own people and their own offices. Yeah. there was a lot of stuff that ended up causing its downfall. But there were some systems that were really well designed and really good. One of them, in my opinion, was definitely the combat. Combat was the most fun that I've had with any combat system.
Yeah.
I didn't touch Wildstar beyond level 10, so I cannot have anything to say about it, unfortunately. Didn't work for me.
Yeah. No, Wildstar definitely did cater to the hardcore crowd, from what I understand.
It's also, I mean, the other thing I gotta say is fair enough is like it was also not a game that was for everybody. So there's plenty of people that say they didn't really play it much, but that's just because it was very stylized too. It was very stylized, and if you didn't have somebody running through with you, some people found the questing kind of boring.
Oh yes.
I liked it, but there were people that just thought it was really boring. I just had a blast with it myself. I don't know why it was different for me.
Yeah.
Maybe I have bad taste. Maybe I just don't know what's good. I don't know.
Raj, that's
classic,
a good question.
Yeah.
Raj, this is a good question. I'm gonna hold that for another part of the chat, possibly even the post podcast show if you stick around for that. But yeah, trying to keep things a little bit on topic because this is helping with the segmenting later on YouTube. Go ahead. You were saying
segmenting. So yeah, it's like the FF14 freaking level 1, level 60 experience, which was painful as hell. I had so much pain going through it.
Agreed. Luckily, they updated that.
Yeah.
I got through it before they updated it. It was painful. It was like, oh, I finished the main scenario quest for like this thing. Then there's the post expansion DLC for this thing, which is 100 quests, 100 of them. And then I could finally get to the next expansion, and then it was the post expansion DLC with another 100 quests. Oh god. Oh.
And then there was the pre-expansion DLC.
Yeah.
And then the post-release pre-expansion yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
By the way, we are getting close to 8:30. Are you good to go closer to 9 or?
Yeah, I'm good for 9.
Okay. I wanted to go into the random topics, which is by going back to something that we were chatting about already, which is the body blocking projectile attacks. This comes from the forums this time, from Azare, asking, what do you guys want to happen here? Can I block a ranger's projectile against maybe a mage that they're fighting? Not just a mage on my team. I mean, if I got between Steven's ranger and that Minotaur shaman, can I make Steven lose his fight somehow? Any other cool ways you can think of to use this, whether green or purple? Because this is more so body blocking projectile attacks while green with mobs. I don't expect mobs to do it, but perhaps we could really use really complex positioning to get them to, like, dumping mobs on a ranger by pulling them through their shots lines, depending on how threat works, etc.
This looks more like a question on, can I get someone to trigger corruption without the other guy intending to be corrupted? This looks like it.
Yeah. Sir Unsington says, someone in here said something about the tree taking the arrow, so maybe body blocking would be a thing. What do you think? Especially coming from a tank perspective.
Yeah, this is actually a very interesting question, because I think it's really going to come down to how they want projectiles to interact with other players. When the attacker has the checkbox selected to make sure that they don't flag themselves by automatically attacking somebody else. Because if that's the case, then maybe part of that system means that the projectile is not going to actually hit them. Like, they're going to become just non-existent when it comes to damage output. Or if the damage hits them and it just gets nullified, which then doesn't trigger the PvP flag. So if it, depending, so I guess it depends on how they choose to interact with it, or make it interact.
Yeah, so that's a good point. Overthrow here says, I would assume he would need to be purple to intercept a purple's projectile. If he is green and does not have force attack on, then it wouldn't hit you. If he is purple and you're green, then you'd need to have force attack toggled on to intercept that projectile, I assume. Sir Unsington says, tank ability, please pick up enemy player and make them a part of your health pool for 5 seconds. Damage is shared 50% and delivered at the end of the ability.
You joke, but Warhammer 40k around 10 years ago had this mechanic called Lookout Sir.
Okay.
If a character model was being attacked
That's
and suffered
magical.
a wound, some random dude nearby could just be picked up and eat the bullet for the character, and the random dude dies and the character is fine. That was a mechanic from a long time ago.
Yeah,
That sounds very Warhammer 40k.
Yeah, I wasn't meaning to laugh at you, Sir Unsington. It was just more like, as I was saying it, my brain was imagining what that would look like, and that's what I was giggling at. I have a very active imagination, so a lot of these times if I look lost in thought, I'm probably imagining something one of you guys said to see how that would work out in my head. Overthrow says, yeah, I feel like Ash's affiliation system is going to be a gigantic mess. There's so many permutations. Same. Good. I'm glad you understand. But yeah, wood chip, I agree. The coding on that would be very insane. I can't even imagine how complex some of the stuff is, knowing some of the complex things to me in web development. So I can only imagine myself trying to build some of these things. Oof, I don't even know.
I don't even want to be the person who has to test that feature. God.
Pseudocode for days, no. I think.
This sounds like a feature where my test case would have like 400 steps because of just how many permutations there are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the stuff from a tank point of view is like super interesting on how it's going to work.
I agree.
It might just end up being that I might need to find a cosmetic that's just like a ballerina from Nutcracker, and all I'm doing is running around jumping to intercept arrows everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
Just run around the field and just jump to intercept all the flying projectiles.
Why not? If you're an evade tank and you just keep jumping around for projectiles and suddenly like the arrows are like, nope, it's gone now. Bye.
No.
Ashes and Arrows says, more importantly, what about in groups? Can rangers not hit the target if their group or raid mates are blocking it? Good question. I think the arrow has to go through greens is their follow-up. Yeah, that. And then Overthrow says, can I heal my green party member when I am green and have force attack turned off, but he is being attacked by a corrupted player who is a part of a node war against my party member, but his guild is allied with mine? Takes notes. You know, it's a good question. My head hurts. So basically, it's like if we were... Davlos is dead.
It's not because of lack of sleep, but just thinking about it, like, no. It was like that meme with like the math flying everywhere, just like trying to process it. Yeah, no, absolutely, I get it. It's like if Davlos was our party member, if we are green, and my green. Can I heal my green party member when I am green? So that would mean Davlos would be green and have force attack turned off, but Davlos is being attacked by a corrupted player who is part of a node war against Davlos, but Davlos's guild is allied with our guild. Like that's the scenario there. I hope that put it in a better perspective. Slow walk.
It depends. It depends on the interaction, because if two greens are standing there and a purple comes and attacks one of the green is still green until they attack back.
Yeah.
They could stand there and just heal each other. The two greens could just stand there and heal each other all day long. In theory.
Now that you
and
introduce
not turn into combatant.
Yeah.
Now that you introduce the factor of a node war, that just makes things even worse.
Yeah, because there's the node war stuff, but I think Steven said some of that stuff was going to end up being instanced away. Or at least bounded off, like they won't be able to enter the area to interfere. But it does bring up fun interactions in dungeons and raids, right?
Yeah.
Depending on how things happen, if a green player can intercept ranged attacks without without being engaged in PvP attack or PvP combatant status, they could just run and interfere with all of the attacks and everything going on a raid boss. And the only fear they're going to have is if the raid boss clips them.
Yeah.
You know
just
what?
Run around in circles and just mess with that party hardcore.
I don't know how far Steven is willing to break the fourth wall, but if the permutations get too complicated, an elegant solution is to just go full Monty Python. You just send in the police and arrest everyone. Done.
Nara says that is a siege for tech, not a node war. Node war is open world 24/7. Woodchip says, what if it's Saturday on the third moon? Overthrow says, I just imagine some average M plus, like Mythic plus healer in WoW healing their friend and being like, why am I corrupted?
Yeah, you're right, Ashes in error. I'm thinking Node Siege. Yeah, the Node War thing.
Woodchip says so Steven's on the sixth wall.
Yeah, he's on the sixth wall right now. Yeah, there's so many different PvP situations and PvE situations that are different from each other.
Yeah.
It'd be crazy.
The next thing I wanted to talk about is multiple attackers and corruption. This one is back on the Reddit. Since we're already here on this topic anyway, this fits right in to go into that. But talking about, like, has there been any previous statements about corruption being applied in regards to multiple users, for participating in a player kill? Does corruption apply only on last hit by being counted as an attacker? Is that corruption fully applied to all attacking parties? Is there a percentile based on damage percent? How would that affect a PK score? And they went to say, like, the wiki is very helpful in describing the process in a 1v1 manner, but unless I've completely missed something, it's possibly missing information on a pretty common situation in regards to PK.
Yeah. When it comes to the corruption stuff, and honestly, when it comes to anything in any MMOs, it always bothers me when anything is last hit. Last hit is such the easy, cheesiest way out as far as I'm concerned. It always, and I don't even know why. It's like people have irrational fears of, like, the noodly, wavy-armed, inflatable tube guys and, like, random stuff like that. Well, this is my irrational rage. Is that whenever somebody says something is based on last hit, it makes the back of my head just scream in why. Like, there should totally be something based on, like, percentage of damage done or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Last hit is just the worst.
Yeah, Witchup says, I hate this topic, or I guess the answer. Last player is the answer, yeah. So I absolutely agree. And Overthrow says, at Vertex, sounds like something a Tink would say. Inera says, right now the system is last hit, but that needs to change in my opinion. T-Elf also says, all attackers in my opinion. And a couple of people, Ashes and Air says, any contribution within the last 20 seconds or whatever should count, and I agree. TL says it makes you think, why bother if only the last hit counts? Yeah, I could see that.
My chaotic neutral answer is, let it play out in the public test environment. Let them get the data. Let them find out what happens most of the time, and then let them design from that point on, because it's really difficult to predict what's going to happen, really.
Well, also define most of the time, because I think most of the time on server 1 might be option 1, but most of the time on server 2 might be option 2. So it might be like a server by server basis, even potentially.
And there's going to be that one server full of, like, meta and min-max power gamers that are just going to completely skew all numbers everywhere. Just mess it all up.
That's where you want to find the edge cases, because it's really hard to find with just 5 people on staff. You want 500 nerds to find this thing out like it's their full-time job, and they're going to do this for free for you. Let them do it.
Yeah. I'm gonna grab Sir Undington's against them. Nair follows up by saying, and not only damage, but also healing and buffs shouldn't be the last person. Somebody else, let's see. Woodchip says, I want corruption to start from the first hit and regress from there. Back off and save yourself, right? Erode says corruption is for anti-ganking. If someone attacks a green and stops attacking them because they don't fight back, but a third party comes in and kills them, why should the first attacker be punished? And I feel like it should kind of depend, like if it's like one right after the other, you know? If someone were to come and attack me and then it just happened to be another group decided, like, oh, that person's not fighting back, let's gank them, you know? I don't think the first person that attacked me and then let off should be held accountable for it, you know?
Yeah, like if someone were to walk up to you and try to steal your backpack, but they didn't quite steal it, but they got you down on the ground, you fell over because of part of the grabbing of your backpack, and they decided to give up and walk away, but somebody else ran by and did actually take it, should the first person not get in trouble with the law? I mean, it contributes towards the final outcome, right? Like it's someone walks up and they're like, I'm gonna PK this person, and they just keep taunting and keep poking at somebody, and they're never gonna fight back. It's not worth the corruption. And we'll walk away, and then somebody else comes in and just says, I'll take it. Well, that one hit they had to do.
Yeah. Brother says the first attacker should be punished. They did help contribute to the death of the green person.
I don't know. It has been a long time since I last read up on corruption mechanics.
TL says you shouldn't have started it.
All I do is throw his backpack in the trash can. I have no control over if someone else came and took it and ran off.
Yeah, I like that.
Because my instinctive answer is to just give it like the EVE Online solution. You know, put most of the place in a lawless space and let it happen. Just let things happen.
Absolutely, I agree. The final answer should be let's test it and figure out what works. I think that should be the final answer. And when people are like complaining about it, well, you should have been there when the testing was a thing. And also because we tested it, we found this was going to be the best solution here. Yeah. You know, and that's not to be rude. Like I totally get it. Like if someone joins in 2032 and the game is out, like, and they complain about it, like, I'm not trying to be rude by saying you should have been there to test it, but I'm just saying this got put in at testing. So if you weren't there to help test it, then that's why we don't have the way that you want it. Maybe your test additional could have helped change things. I don't know. By
the time 2032 comes around, we'll all be Ash's veterans, all grizzled and aged and knowing, and we'll all be able to look at the newbies going, back in my day, we ran tests on this stuff. I found this is the best way. You don't want to see the other ways. Oh, no.
That's Vertex grandpa voice.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and then I've gone to go create a couple of virtual machines and put some macros to help me farm things.
Yeah. Hey, you cute.
Tell them I'm doing that.
Right.
Selling your accounts for millions? Oh, man. I'm sorry. That's probably the one time where I would. I'm not going to lie. Even Steven, if you're watching this, I'll look you straight in the eyes and say, if someone were to offer me millions for an Ashes of Creation account, I will turn into an Ashes of Creation account seller someday. They will have my account if they offer millions of dollars. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's life-changing money right there.
I will tag my account to an NFT and make money out of it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Anything short of that, no. I mean, it's just dumb. Yeah. Don't sell accounts. It's just silly. But yeah, if someone offered me millions, it's gone.
Verge says, but due to inflation, millions gets you a gallon of milk. Overthrow says, sure glad we made it this year. Top target. My arthritis is killing me on this raid. So that
you joke. You joke. Yeah. But in Wrath of the Lich King, I bound my hunter raid rotation to mouse wheel.
Yeah.
It can happen. It has been done before.
Oh yeah, no. I think I got almost like a carpal tunnel from trying to do a bunch of stuff. I remember you guys. I do joke. I tease along lightly.
Yes.
But yeah, I wanted to continue on to the last kind of random thing before we kind of touch some of the other stuff, and that is Empyrean model feedback. We got to see some of the Empyrean model, and I think it looks so good. There's no stream. No, let me check. I don't. Yep.
Serious?
There's no audio.
Why is it doing that?
Oh god, the follow-up comments. Oh god.
Thank you for mentioning that, by the way. I actually am not in control of that stuff, but you mentioning it means I can quickly go take a peek so that I can help Vertec in that regard.
Now they should hear it.
Let me just double check. I don't hear it still. Oh, very lightly.
Yeah, it's a light song. It just hit a really quiet part.
Gotcha. But yeah, so it's a tin. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your name. I apologize. Says, hello, I'll just watch the stream as always and wanted to give some feedback and on the new Empyrean model. I really love them. Elegant and determined. That fits so well. But the only thing that really bothered me, RPG wise, the underwear they're using looks like diapers. It's just really weird. It was a small thing, but it looked really weird and unfitting for this elegant race, which I get. But we're also not going to, get like fancy schmancy lingerie because, but.
Because why?
Because.
Have you not played Lineage 2?
This isn't Lineage 2. That's why.
It's supposed
But
to be heavily
Steven
based
loves
on
Lineage 2.
Yeah. Jeez.
Oh my gosh.
It's not that kind of game.
Yeah, it's not that kind of
yes.
game. Oh my gosh. But yeah, that aside though, what are your thoughts on the Empyrean model? Does it look the way that you thought the Empyrean model would look? The chainmail bikini for the one.
Just saying, there's ear holes in the hood.
There is ear holes in the hood.
I think it's adorable. Fantastic.
All I can think of is how can I make this model on the right to
Raj,
look
I
like
hope so.
Asmongold
Oh my gosh.
for the memes.
New cosmetic pack? Oh no.
New cosmetic pack, Asmongold, $20.
Oh no. I'm good. Pass.
It's gonna make so much money. Do it. Do it.
I was gonna say, as long as it comes with a mattress stuffed with money that I can put inside my housing.
Right. So I don't have a art for this week, but I did add the official Ashes news, which kind of had a little bit of their choose your own adventure feeling to it, which is already expired, I believe. But they had on the 29th, which was yesterday, they'd put an enemy ranger stands between you and exploring the rest of the Varen deserts. In classic fashion, you both prepare for a duel. Do you shoot or aim precisely? And it was really close, but 51% chose aim precisely. So they then responded with, you take your time and aim for the perfect shot. Your opponent fires first, but your keen eyes help you nail a direct hit. Let this day serve as a notice to all that there may be a new sheriff in town, or sheriff around these parts. I like it. I love their little like choose your own adventure things. It's so cute, honestly.
Yeah, they're adorable. Whoever writes them.
I was really sad when they ended last year. I was like, but where's more? I want more.
Yeah, that was not supposed to be the end. We did not agree to this.
Yeah, maybe they have sunscreen.
Give us more lore. So for these new models, right? I think they do look pretty great. Flavor-wise, they are rather unique for fantasy elves because it's not obviously blood elves. It's not EverQuest high elves or like Elder Scrolls elves. So they did a pretty decent job. I mean, no one can even accuse them of like, oh, you just went to watch like Tolkien's Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings stuff and got these elves. So yeah, they nailed it. The headgear and the jewelry and everything. Yeah. I mean,
I think so
compared to like the player models in Epoch, which were not that great. Yeah, this is a step up.
That was a really the guy was a little bit hauntingly like blank.
Yeah, dead eyes and everything, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Which of us says, wait, I just realized no new mounts on this live stream. Is this the first?
I think it is.
Probably.
I think it is.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Probably.
And for the media that I have to share, it's just a meme. posted on Reddit from Duvali. The title is "Dodging Arrows in War Be Like." It's kind of funny.
Oh, this one. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. 50 people freaking like targeting you and you just die. Ugh.
Yep, that's gonna be me, the tank, running around. I'm telling you, if they have a ballerina cosmetic, I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna run around the field.
Yeah.
Sprightly jumping in the way of all the projectiles.
Oh, Roach says that's the perfect tank.
Yeah.
It's too bad Amazon Lord of the Rings is getting the full Wrath of the Lord lovers. It's actually a good show. I get how you can't just come and change history on folks, though. They asked for it. Yeah, I can see that. But other says, their faces reminded me of the Wise Masters from Game of Thrones, the slave owners in Slaver's Bay.
I need to look that up because I gave up on the show like quite early on.
Oh, yeah, I hope you guys, please be safe. Absolutely, those of you in Florida.
Oof.
We were looking at the damage this morning on some of the places, especially was at Fort Myers. Oof.
Yeah, Fort Myers was wrecked.
Wrecked completely.
You know what? I do see the resemblance to the Wise Masters. The elves just need some eyeliner. That's it. Then they'll nail it.
There you go.
They just need eyeliner.
Yeah. Glad. So we are close to 9 o'clock. I think maybe now would be a good time to wrap up, especially because you've been up since 2 a.m. here time. It's almost 9 a.m.
I'm gonna turn into a pumpkin.
Pumpkin.
What is your absolute favorite thing or the biggest thing you took away from today's live stream?
There's actually ranged combat and it doesn't look awful because there are some MMOs which make ranged combat really terrible and boring and monotonous and make me just fall asleep like Black Desert. That was my main takeaway. I saw a couple environment bugs in the video, but that's just the QA side of me that cannot stop thinking about it.
Yeah, I feel that.
What MMO has great ranged combat? That's a great question.
I couldn't tell you because I usually play healer.
If you really want to if I'm gonna be really technical about it, if you want to consider PlanetSide 2 an MMO, PlanetSide nailed it. They freaking nailed it. 400 players in the same grid and still having 60 FPS and no desync. I don't know how they did it. That was amazing.
PlanetSide 2 was a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
I actually never played that game.
You should try, at least for 2 hours. You should try.
It's definitely a shooter. But
So I'll die a lot.
Tactic based, and you can fly a plane. If you're good at flying a plane, everyone else can do the shooting for you.
No, I told you the story of me flying a plane. I don't think I'm a good plane flyer.
You don't really need to fly a plane. It's a lot more to do with just discipline and listening to orders, just like any other major MMO PvP organization where you're in a dropship. You listen for orders, you hear the guy saying drop, drop, drop. On the third drop, you just press E, everyone drops in the same place, and yeah.
Gotcha. Witchup says, hey, Davlos, thanks for your industry insight. It was a pleasure.
Yep. And thank you for having me.
Yeah, so apparently Intrepid does have some PlanetSide devs. I hear
Yeah, they do.
They get a couple.
Yes, it's Kat. She
Hi,
finally
Kat.
woke up. Hello.
Kitty.
I expect mine will be doing that soon.
Yeah, she
Yelling
wants
at
to
me.
go out, so I better get going soon. She's probably hungry. Yeah.
That is reasonable.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, thanks so much for stopping by here. Much appreciated. Had a great talk as always.
It was a great time to talk about Ashes, which I have not even talked about for a really long time. Would love to come back again.
Yeah, absolutely. If there's ever a topic that you are super interested in or like chatting about, also just feel free to hit me up. We can get you scheduled. Not a problem.
Yes. Yeah, with any luck, I might probably get into a new position somewhere else, which might be a bit more relevant. Hopefully.
Oh yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Hopefully, not just a browser MMO.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Hopefully.
Well, good luck on it.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
I have fingers crossed for you.
I guess quick takeaways for today, and then we break for snacks and stuff, and letting Davlos go.
Yes. My snacks are, if you want to see in Morocco, I love it. Morocco.
Nice.
Indian. It's
Okay.
like Cheetos, but spicy.
Okay.
Actually spicy, like actual Indian spices, spicy, not just hot Cheetos. But yeah.
Not just the cheese Cheetos.
Nah, those are weak. So weak. If your other hole is not burning after that, it's not spicy enough.
I mean, that's a fair way of dialing it into exactly how spicy it should be at a minimum.
There you go.
Yeah.
Davlos says, Sarah Jameson says, Davlos confirmed as an action player by background. Everything is fine.
No, I'm not an action player by background. I spent 13 years playing EVE Online, and if you know anything about EVE Online, it's anything but action.
Mm-hmm. Fair. Alrighty. Well, thank you so much, everybody. You want to do it? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed having Davlos, and it was really nice to chat a little bit of like tech stuff, because I don't really get to do that a whole lot. So it was really nice to have somebody else to like understand it. I'm sure you understand it more than I do, given I do web dev stuff, but I can understand it to a point. And some of that stuff.
At some point I might want to dig into your brain about Selenium, because I want to get into that and I have no idea what I'm looking at. Good God.
Too old for action. Oh gosh, wood tip. All right. Well, on that note, thank you everyone for giving us your time and for following and for subbing and donating. We super appreciate your presence and your being here and being active. We just couldn't be where we are without it. We are gonna take a quick 15-minute break while we get some snacks and some refreshments and let our poor dog out.
Yes, and let my poor cat out.
And let Davlos finally go get sleep.
Yeah.
So please don't go anywhere if you want to hang out for the post-podcast Tavern Talk. And Bertek, you were going to say something?
I was just going to say thank you all for your time. It's the one currency you do not get back, but it means a lot to us.
Yes.
It's the most priceless. And yeah, if you're only here for this guy, then good riddance. I mean, goodbye and good night. And if not, we'll see you in about 15.
See you in about 15.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.